It stands out from the sky, can be seen for miles around. It's been part of the landscape for as long as anyone can remember. This is Techny, home of the Divine Word Missionaries. They represent many countries. They are from such places as the Philippines, Argentina, Holland, Germany, Hungary, Poland, Mexico, Ghana, Vietnam, and China. These men are part of the more than 5,000 members called the Divine Word Missionaries. Divine Word Missionaries were founded by Blessed Arno Jansen in Style, Holland in 1875. Father Jansen wanted to start a new order of priests and brothers whose sole purpose was to preach the gospel where it had never been preached before or where the church was not firmly established. He named the new order the Society of the Divine Word. In 1895, Brother Wendell and Meyer arrived in the United States of America. He came to gather subscriptions for the magazines which Divine Word Missionaries published and printed in Germany. In a short time, other Divine Word Missionaries followed. They bought farmland north of Chicago. This land is known today as Techny. Father Pyle, one of the early Divine Word Missionaries, was the first in a long line of visionaries. He wanted a mission seminary established, and he wanted to begin work among African Americans.
A man of great vision, great courage, and energy. He not only founded the technical school, St. Joseph's Technical School, but in a very short time, he began the first seminary in the United States for the training of Americans for overseas missionary work, both priests and brothers. He's the one responsible for the building up of the entire Techny campus. The buildings, the original buildings, were his work. And imagine at one time he even talked about building a building that would hold 1,000 men. What courage. Pyle not only is the founder of the house here at Techny, Illinois, but we must also give him credit for having the vision to see that the Society of the Divine Word must move into the area of the apostolate for African Americans. He was the one who had the idea and the initiative. And it's in that area also that our community, Divine Word Missionaries, has made a significant contribution to American church history.
In 1909, the mission seminary at Techny became a reality. From the seminary came many missionaries who have gone to missions throughout the world. It was here at Techny that the first Roman Catholic mission seminary in the United States was established. The very first Divine Word Missionaries were sent to China in 1879, just 4 years after the society was founded in Holland. The story of those early missionaries is one of courage, determination, and faith. The first missionaries sent out from the United States were sent to China in 1920. Two seminarians in their last year of training, Fathers Robert Clark and Clifford King, enthusiastically volunteered for the China missions. They and other Americans who followed would help save the China missions after so many missionaries were murdered in the Boxer Rebellion. The spirit of Techny was no longer limited to Chicago. In just a few short years, the young order of Divine Word Missionaries was going out to all nations. That is one reason why the Divine Word Missionaries say, "The world is our family." Priests and brothers from the training grounds of Techny were there practically every step of the way with Divine Word missionaries from other countries.
The thing that amazes me about the Society of the Divine Word and its contribution to the world and to North America is the fact that the Society was really ahead of its time. Ahead of its time in the sense that when it decided to go out to bring the gospel to places that needed to hear the gospel, when it decided to go out to convert others, it was not just a conversion to the church, but it was also a conversion that implied that the sisters and the brothers of whatever country they were in were part of us. They were sisters and brothers in the true sense of the word. By that I mean to say that they not only brought them into the church, but they also said to them, "You're one of us, and that we will also train you so that you can be ministers to one another, particularly in the vocation to priesthood, to religious life." Our SVD confreres were not afraid to take the members, to take those in formation and make them our own SVD confreres. That to me is an amazing contribution. It was saying an awful lot to the entire world.
The vision and dedication of Divine Word missionaries from Techny was years ahead of the times. The work of the Divine Word missionaries in the African American apostolate is recognized as a very important historical turning point in the evangelization of African Americans and a major contribution to the development of the Catholic Church in America. Because of the Divine Word missionaries' work in the South and the establishment of St. Augustine Seminary in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, the first African American priests were ordained in 1934. Amazingly, from the 1930s well into the 1950s, the only place a young African American male could study for the priesthood was with the Divine Word missionaries in Bay St. Louis. Divine Word missionaries were truly ahead of their times.
It just boggles my mind that at that time they took the young men into the society as peers so that they could be not only ministers to the sisters and brothers within their areas, but they could be ministers, sisters and brothers everywhere. The society was saying that this is what the church is about. This is who we are as sisters and brothers, as sons and daughters of God. That to me is an amazing feat. And today you see the result of the work of the society. Look at what has come forth from the Southern Province, for example. Look at the leadership that has expanded, not only with the priests and the brothers and the sisters, but even with our laity. That to me is a contribution unparalleled by anyone else.
The Divine Word missionaries at Techny were ahead of the times when they began the CSMC, Catholic Student Mission Crusade. Begun in 1916 by the then seminarian Clifford King, young people were encouraged to work for the missions. People became aware of the missions through Techny, and for 50 years, this was a significant movement in helping America become more mission-minded. The printing press at Techny was an abundant source of information for American Catholics. Providing pamphlets and magazines, the press was a very large operation that provided images of the missions for the United States. The press was destroyed by a fire in 1960, but its years of service had put Techny firmly in the eyes of the American people and was of significant support for missionaries.
And Father Arnold Jansen was very strong in the apostolate of the press, and as a result, there are many production presses all over the world of our society. We have had one right here in Techny where there were about 20 or so brothers involved in it. We had quite a complete production operation, printed a number of magazines, very, very many booklets and pamphlets, and did quite a bit of job work. One of our largest jobs was the Sacred Heart calendar that we used to do every year, a million or so of those calendars.
Techny is a beautiful place. It has trimmed lawns. It has beautiful statuary surrounded by shrubs. It has some tiny lakes and a scenic stone bridge. And all this is a result of the work of our brothers. And among these brothers, one stands out, and that is the person of Brother Charles Reckamp. You've often heard about people loving their work. Well, Brother Charles' work in the nursery, which we called the Mission Gardens, was really his entire life. He loved to reflect God's creativity in flowers. In fact, he created new species of daylilies featured in national magazines. It is just wonderful to know that a person can be so identified with God's nature and God's beauty. This happiness was reflected in everything that he did. Brother Charles was such a beautiful person.
Techny Mission House was also responsible for the Divine Word Missionaries' presence in other parts of the United States. Divine Word Missionaries began a seminary at Riverside, California. Seminaries were established in East Troy, Wisconsin, Perrysburg, Ohio, Girard, Pennsylvania, Canisius, New York, Bordentown, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., and Duxbury, Massachusetts. The college training program, once housed at Techny, continues in Epworth, Iowa. The large, modern, accredited seminary is the only college mission seminary in the United States.
The mission of Divine Word College is very clear, and that is to welcome young men who are exploring religious vocation, who are hearing the call of the Lord in their life to serve others through the church, to provide a place for them to come and understand better the meaning of that vocation and acquire some of the skills that they would need to carry out that vocation in their future ministries.
After college, young men enter a one-year novitiate at Techny. Novitiate is a year of intense spiritual preparation for membership in the Society of the Divine Word. The culmination of the year is the profession of first vows.
When I talk with the novices about why on earth would the Holy Spirit have led our founder Arnold Jansen, who was a shy, quiet, retiring man, to have the boldness to begin this whole adventure, I think for the sake of mission, and for us SVD, that means at heart to go where the gospel has never been preached, and then to serve where it's been preached, but the church really can't stand on its own yet. I think that's one reason, and that I think was Arnold's main focus. But I think what's become very evident in today's world that another hidden reason perhaps was the world needs to see that people who are different can live together. The world desperately needs to see that. And we not only let that happen, we make it happen. We assign people so that will happen,
After novitiate, brothers go to Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. for further studies while staying at Wendlandt House. Those preparing for priesthood go to Catholic Theological Union in Chicago for theological studies. After studies are completed and final vows are made, priests and brothers are given their mission assignment and continue the Techny tradition of proclaiming the gospel to God's family throughout the world.
It is in this spirit, therefore, that I, Adam Eugene MacDonald, solemnly promise you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, to live for life, chastity, poverty, and obedience, according to the constitutions of the Society of the Divine Word.
One of the most profound impacts on my life was the year that I myself spent at Techny during my novitiate year of 1993. During that year, I lived with some of our older and retired members who have been in the mission fields for 50 and even 60 years. I had been reading about the history of our missions and now had the chance to hear that history coming to life from those who had lived it. And now as I prepare to go out and to be sent to the Philippines, I hope that I will be able to make my contribution to that ongoing Techny story.
When people ask me why I want to profess vows, sometimes I have difficulties answering why. When you receive a gift, you don't ask, why are you giving me a gift? You just open wide your arms and you receive it. And this gift of the Divine Word Society came to my life, not I requesting it, but it was given to me. And I've come this far, and I really want to belong to it forever.
Techny is presently home to many retired members. Missionaries who have worked hard come home to Techny to rest and spend their last years in prayer and retirement.
Divine Word Residence is home to some 50 Divine Word missionaries, some of whom work in administration and other forms of ministry here. Others are people from throughout the world who have returned to Techny for their years of retirement. And we're very grateful for the excellent nursing staff and kitchen staff, the receptionists, and the housekeeping personnel who are of assistance to us in so many ways. Techny continues to be open to the world, as the Techny community always has been. And we are happy to welcome missionaries from throughout the world and other guests who come to enjoy whatever hospitality we are able to provide for them.
Techny is still very much alive and at work with regard to serving our missionaries today. My office serves two groups of missionaries. The first are those men who are sent out from here and have been serving in other countries for a good number of years. The second group that I serve are those men who are sent from other countries here to get continuing education or to get a PhD or an MA in various fields. Also, while these men are overseas, we contact them in case there has been a death in the family or serious illness in the family, and we represent the SVDs at the funerals of brothers or sisters or parents of these men. We would like to think that the families of our men are very much a part of our SVD family and integral to our SVD work.
Divine Word missionaries continue to proclaim the gospel through retreat ministry at Techny Towers and Miramar Retreat Center. Techny is now home to Divine Word International, a vibrant conference retreat center. It provides a place for retreats and days of renewal for many diverse groups.
Techny was formerly a center for training foreign missionaries, Divine Word missionary brothers and priests. About 700 brothers and priests were trained in this building, lived and trained in this building, and were sent to the home and foreign missions. However, in the late 1960s, the early 70s, our School of Theology was moved to Chicago Theological Union. And this building underwent major renovations. This building was opened in the early 80s as an international conference center called Divine Word International. And the thrust of the building is still the same. We offer a place for theological and spiritual reflection. We offer a place for people to have conferences and workshops. And we also offer facility for training church leaders, whether it be to work in the inner city or to work in parishes as lectors or Eucharistic ministers.
Missionaries from Techny have gone out to all the world and continue to be witnesses to the possibilities of people living together in peace and harmony. Yes, Techny has been, is, and will continue to be a place where there is excitement, energy, and passion for the gospel. With the establishment of Techny 100 years ago, the Divine Word Missionaries have, with modest beginnings, made an impact on the United States and on the entire world. Much has been accomplished by the Divine Word Missionaries from Techny, Illinois, but it has not been done alone.
Techny was called the World Miracle of Chicago. And the reason was that Father Pyle, in a very short time, was able to build 3 massive wings that would become the trade school as well as the future seminary. He was able to accomplish this by enlisting carpenters, bricklayers, and everyone else who would help him in this venture. It was only later that the majestic towers and this beautiful chapel was added. Besides the workmen, other lay people gave of their time and talents. Now lay people work in offices, shops, and departments, freeing up brothers and priests who can then volunteer for work in the missions. But the greatest gift lay people have given us is their sons as future missionaries. We are so grateful for all the generous help lay people have given us. Father Jansen was a visionary, but I like to tell you, he was a very practical one. He started out his dream by creating a society of men, priests and brothers, who were destined to take care of people throughout the world in the missions. But he immediately realized they would be far more effective if he would only be able to have a group of sisters working with them. And with that in mind, he formed another missionary community, Sisters, Servants of the Holy Spirit. So it was only natural that Founder Jansen would send sisters to help the struggling community at Techny. In so many, many ways, their contribution was invaluable, and we Divine Word missionaries will always be eternally indebted to them.
Our first work here in the United States was in Techny, where we collaborated with the mission work of the SVD in the doing laundry and the kitchen work and so on at the trade school which they had there. In that same year of our arrival in 1901, some of the sisters began to teach at St. Joseph's School, which now is St. Norbert's in Northbrook. By 1903, we had opened a home for the elderly in Techny, which went on until the early 1980s. In 1906, we responded to Father Hike's invitation to go to work in the South, and we were working in the Southern missions until well into the 1980s.
The word Techny becomes very familiar among many other ethnic groups, like the Vietnamese, the Chinese, the Filipinos, the Indonesians, the Caribbeans, and the Latinos, all those groups, because every year, look at the class, look at the young men who take their first or perpetual vows or are ordained here. They are from different parts of the world, and there are many other ethnic communities surrounding this area. They come together to celebrate the special event, the event of a mission together. In some way, Techny carries the image of the world is our family. This is the family of many different ethnic groups coming together to celebrate God's love.
On September the 8th, 1955, I walked through the doors of the Techny Mission House. And little did I know that those doors were not only opening to religious life and missionary work, but those doors were opening to a superhighway to the world. And between September 8th of 1955 until now, I have set foot in 27 countries in this world. And I've had the privilege of working in a number of cultures in this world. And in that sense, Techny has opened more than a door. It has opened up the world to what I have been privileged to experience, and what I've experienced, have been privileged to learn. And I believe that those same Techny doors swing both ways. That what I have learned in the world, through Techny, I've been able to transmit back to my own country and my own people, so that there's a kind of a rise of consciousness of the world we live in.
Somehow, by keeping in dialogue with what's happening in the mission, what's happening in the local church, and what are the talents of the young men who join us, out of that conversation is going to come the future of Techny. Some things will stay the same. Our mission to proclaim the gospel throughout the world will be the foundation. We will continue to be multiracial and international. Probably we'll do a lot more with lay missionaries, which we didn't do in the past. The face of Techny will change. A lot of the property on the other side of Waukegan Road will be developed so that we can have funds to help meet the needs of people around the world. But very much of the Techny property, much of what you can see in this picture, will remain a quiet and contemplative place, a place where people can come to find some peace and to be re-energized for the mission that belongs not only to the Divine Word missionaries, but to all of us.
The many colors of the windows in the Techny Chapel are a living reminder of the vibrant spirit which is Techny. All hues and shapes are welcome here. Yes, many people have come and gone through Techny, whether they be priest, brother, sister, layperson, whether they were young or old, all have played a part in the mission of the church. Divine Word missionaries have always relied on the Spirit to guide them, and the past 100 years have borne witness to that Spirit. Countless people and nations have been the recipients of the Techny story. Techny has spoken for 100 years that all God's people are beautiful. Techny, for 100 years, has opened its doors, its heart and soul, to the belief that all of God's creation is wonderful. For 100 years, Techny has boldly proclaimed that the world is our family. That spirit is still alive today, and thank God, that spirit will live on for another 100 years.